or business. A bill connected to illegal immigration would take away a restriction that the attack needs to be happening at night when it's dark out. President Trump on Wednesday signs an order to roll back water pressure regulations enforced by former Presidents Biden and Obama that limit the flow from a shower head to a maximum of 2.5 gallons per minute. And Drake is making history 2 times in one day. The rapper has broken the Beatles record for the most cumulative weeks on the Billboard 200 and becomes the first artist to surpass 500 million RIAA certified units. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
New Schools for New Orleans is committed to celebrating the hard-working teachers of New Orleans Public Schools. Join us at the 4th Annual NOLA Teacher Fest, sponsored by the All-State Sugar Bowl New Orleans Teacher Community. The NOLA Teacher Fest is happening Friday, May 2nd at Champion Square from 4 to 7 p.m. The fest is open to teachers, paraprofessionals, deans, coaches, counselors, and other school support staff. Visit our website to learn more and RSVP, www.newschoolsforneworleans.org.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Good morning. Happy Friday, and welcome to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Shout out to my super producer, Naira Sanders. Listen, y'all, this show is a good one this morning. We're going to talk to State Rep Matthew Willard at the 7:25 hour. We'll hear from State Rep Delisha Boyd at the top of the 8 o'clock hour, and we'll hear from Joe C. Dyson, Beyond the Stage LLC. He's the founder at the 8:30 hour. So if you want to get some insight from either of your state reps, especially as it relates to these bills that we voted down at the polls, and now there's like another iteration of them coming. This is the show to listen to. So at the 7:20 hour, we'll hear from State Rep Matthew Willard, and 8 o'clock, we'll hear from State Rep Delisha Boyd. But right now, I want to talk to you about, and listen, if you were listening yesterday to the show, I should say this. I don't know what took place, but we're having some technical difficulties right at the end of the show, so you probably missed the last 2 minutes of the show as I was closing. But the story centered around a 17-year-old nonverbal child in Idaho who was having an episode that his family members were trying to calm him down about. He has autism. He's nonverbal. He's 17, so he's a big kid. And a neighbor called 911 and made accusations of a man wielding a knife, and he was drunk. And I have real issues with that story, because if this is your neighbor, if you live in the neighborhood next door to the child and his family, how is it that you don't know that there's a 17-year-old nonverbal child with autism in the home? And these sorts of episodes happen. And he was in crisis. His family wanted help to calm him down, but the neighbor called police. 4 police officers exit their vehicles, guns drawn, and within 12 seconds, they shoot the child 9 times. 9 times. His sister was screaming, "He's special." as a way to try to alert the police officers that he was different. He was unique. He cannot speak. He doesn't understand at the level that you assume because of his size that he could understand. His brain functions like that of a 5-year-old. So imagine what he's doing. He's not thinking is a threat because he doesn't understand. And the key part of this entire story for me is that aside from him having autism and being nonverbal, there was a fence between the officers and the 17-year-old child who had autism and he was nonverbal. There was a fence in between the two of them. Well, the 5 of them, right? Because it's 4 officers and a kid on the other side and the woman trying to hold him back. They got out of their vehicles, guns drawn, and within 12 seconds, they shot him 9 times. He is now on a machine. He's had his leg amputated, and the doctors do not believe he's going to ever come off the machine. Now, I don't know if we can just chalk this up to bad policing, bad training. I don't know. I think this is a culture. Free kills. That's what I think this is about, because there's no way that we can watch video after video of police interacting with people who look more like them, and there's a restraint there. I watched several videos as I prepared to talk about this case. There was a case where a white guy was chasing the police around their own police vehicles with a machete. Nobody shot. They were actually retreating, backing up. All of these mass killings that we hear about at the church, at the grocery store, at the schools, all of those people make it into police cars, untouched. So this is not about you not knowing how to show the restraints. This is not about you not putting forth your de-escalation training. This is about you subjectively deciding when to use it. That's what it looks like to me. Because we could rattle off name after name after name of police-sanctioned violence that led to the death of people inside of their own homes. But you're telling me 4 peace officers who are trained can jump out of a vehicle, draw weapons, and within 12 seconds, you can't even make a valued assessment in 12 seconds about what you're even approaching. Because if you're that scared, what you get out your car for? This feels trigger happy to me. But the child was shot 9 times, and that's the story I was talking about as we were trying to close the show. So my apologies if you did not catch the end of it. But is this really a matter of training, bad policing, or is this a culture where we shoot first and pretend our lives were in imminent danger later? Because he had a knife, there was a fence, and it's 4 of you with guns. And some of them didn't even have handguns. They had actual rifles. When do you decide when to use your taser? There's a fence. Unless he planned on throwing the knife at you, he can't harm you imminently. There's no imminent danger. And clearly he wasn't trying to harm the lady because she was physically trying to restrain him. So if he was going to do harm to her, it would have been done. He did not understand what was happening. But this is why training is important. This is why you need people who are trained in crisis to show up to these sorts of calls. And I really want somebody to look into the neighbor, because I'm confused as to how you don't know your neighbor when you see him. You had enough information, quote unquote, to call and say there's a man, he appears to be drunk, and he's wielding a knife. And the child had trouble walking, which is why he might have appeared to be stumbling. It was because of his disability, not because he was intoxicated. We have to do better. All of these happy-go-lucky 911 callers who want to see police-sanctioned violence against marginalized people like they did when they were watching lynchings back in the day. It's sick. And we ought to start holding these people accountable for weaponizing 911 and weaponizing the police who don't need any help being weaponized. But anyway, there's a story here. And this one really bothers me because I don't I always say I don't understand y'all, but it's rhetorical, and I apologize for continuing to say that. But it's just the first statement that comes to my mind because things that baffle me, it's like, how do you not understand how to operate or how we should conduct ourselves when children are going to school and leaving school when buses are involved? But in this particular case, it's a bit different. Nobody is being reported to have run the stop signs that the bus put out, or they didn't adhere to stopping on both sides of the street when the buses are trying to load and unload children. This is a case whereby a 6-year-old was struck and killed by his school bus in the St. Claude neighborhood of New Orleans on yesterday. The accident was reported in the 1400 block of Desire Street. The accident happened around 8 a.m. while the child was getting out of a car. The child, identified by his aunt as Mason Richards, was brought to the hospital by New Orleans EMS, and the child later died as a result of his injuries. The family of the young boy said that they are demanding that the bus driver is charged or they will sue, which I am puzzled by that. But I'm going to tell you the rest of the article, and then I'll give my big opinion about it. It says, however, New Orleans police said they are not pressing charges against the driver or the bus company at this time. NOPD added that drugs or alcohol are not suspected as factors in the incident. Mason attended KIPP leadership, and the school sent the following statement. We're deeply saddened to confirm that a student at KIPP leadership has tragically passed away following a bus accident. Our thoughts are with the family, and we are offering our full support to them and to our school community during this incredibly difficult time. We are working closely with local authorities to understand the circumstances surrounding this tragedy, and at this time, because this is an official investigation, we've been asked by NOPD to defer all questions to them. The safety and well-being of our students and staff is always our top priority, and we are providing grief counseling and support services for those affected. We ask that you respect the privacy of the family at this time. So I want to say my deepest condolences to the family of young Mason Richards, family, friends, loved ones, and to the entire faculty, staff, and student body at KIPP leadership. We all know, if we've been in this game long enough, we all know what it's like to lose a student, to have tragedy strike our families. We've all dealt with that. If you've been in the game long enough, you've dealt with that. And it's a hard one. And it never ever feels like it's better, because it's always there. So to the faculty, staff, and student body, to the family, friends, and loved ones of Mason Richards, our deepest condolences are extended to you, and to the bus driver as well, because that is something that is traumatic, going to be traumatic. And I urge you, young lady, to go and get some help as well, because the Richards family is demanding that the bus driver is charged. And that's the statement that I want to talk about. Charged for what exactly? Because by all accounts and everything that has been reported, the baby was allowed to get out of the car and run over to his school bus, and that is how he was hit. Now, when kids die, I don't care to play the blame game. I just want to make certain that we are not trying to lay blame where it doesn't belong. It's a tragic accident. There's so many things that could have been done differently to ensure that that child made it safely from the vehicle to the bus. And so while I know that you're grieving as a family, let's just be clear here. You lost a baby, and that is tremendously traumatic, and I can't begin to even want to think about how that feels. So oftentimes our anger is misplaced, our blame is misplaced. That bus driver also lost a student. He was hers to protect as well, and that hurts on a level that is unimaginable, that she could even feel any sort of responsibility for his passing. It's unfortunate and it's sad. And I hope the family finds the kind of comfort that helps them get through this. But please let this be a cautionary exemplar of what we should do to ensure that our children, no matter how mundane it might seem, no matter how many times we've done it, it is not safe to allow a child to depart a vehicle and go towards a bus alone. We just have to do our part to ensure that this never happens again. There are far too many bus accidents from people ignoring stop signs, from people pushing past buses when they're stopped and children are loading and unloading a bus. Too many accidents that are preventable. And in this case, mom probably thought she was doing exactly what she's always done, and he's made it to the bus every other time. So it's not like anybody set out to harm the baby or to have him not make it home or not make it to the bus. It was a tragic accident. And please, let's just be mindful when we're discussing it, as we enjoy doing on social media, because we all have big opinions, and I respect everybody's right to have an opinion, but also try to have some perspective on how your words can possibly affect people who are already grieving, and how that grief can turn into rage if they read the wrong thing and they process it the wrong way. A child is dead. A mother is grieving. A bus driver is grieving. They all deserve our immense sympathy, empathy, concern, love, care, comfort. Anything beneath that is unnecessary. And so again, my heart, prayers, and thoughts go out to the family of young Mason Richards and the faculty, staff, and student body of KIPP leadership, as well as the bus driver. We just have to do better, y'all, especially when it's about each other. And while I know the Richards family is deeply hurting, demanding that the bus driver is charged or they will sue, let's just take a pause and let's just think this through. Let's take a pause and think this through. But yeah, that's where I'm at with that one. I think that to lose a student is always one of those things that gets your heart moving in a way that you wish it never had to. And so I am just extremely concerned about what that feels like for this family, what that feels like for the kids in that building this morning. But my hope is that there are grief counselors available. There are people who the kids can talk to, especially the children who were on the bus at the time of the incident, especially for the bus driver, especially for mom. Somebody, some group should be at her home right now trying to make certain that she is well mentally, emotionally, offering her some sort of wraparound services as well, because this is a hard one. This is it's traumatic. It's a very, very hard one. So if you are within earshot of our broadcast this morning, please say a little prayer for the family, friends, loved ones, the school community, the neighborhood, for little Mason Richards. May he rest in peace. Listen, our sponsors are what make this engine of ours run. And we're so grateful for them. And when we go to break, you'll hear from a couple of those sponsors who make it possible to deliver this this opportunity to uplift and center Black experiences and Black voices, Black stories right here on WBOK. And we're grateful for them. And if you want to become a sponsor, if you want to purchase some airtime, we're always open and willing and able to accommodate you in that effort, because our sponsors keep the engine running. And on the other side of the break, after we hear a word from our sponsors, we'll talk to State Rep Matthew Willard right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Start your day off right.
Just getting your day started.
Early morning gospel on WBOK.
Good morning. I'm Daryl Forges with WDSU News, and here's your headlines. The trade war between China and the U.S. intensifies. China retaliated against President Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs by raising its levies on the U.S. goods to 125%. That's up from the previous 84% on Thursday. The Trump administration confirmed that the U.S. tariff on Chinese imports now totals 145%. A mother is grieving her 6-year-old boy, Mason Richards, who was struck and dragged by a school bus yesterday. Police say this happened Thursday morning on Desire Street. Mason was getting up out of his mom's car when they say he was hit by the school bus that he was supposed to be getting on. Richards died at the hospital a short time later. Mason was a student at KIPP Leadership. The school will have counselors on hand for students and staff. So far, no charges have been given to the driver, and speed is not believed to be a factor. 2 fraternities at Tulane University are in the dark as they face hazing allegations. Delta Tau Delta and Phi Kappa Sigma have been suspended. We're working to find out more details about exactly what happened. This investigation comes less than 2 months after Caleb Wilson, a Southern University student, was killed while pledging. All right, this weekend, the weather will be absolutely fantastic and filled with big events from the North Shore, the Ponchatoula Strawberry Fest, to the South Shore with the French Quarter Fest, and security measures will be ramped up for the French Quarter Fest. But regardless, have a great time and stay safe out there. I'm Daryl Forges, and that's your headlines for WBOK. Have a great Friday and a phenomenal weekend.
NOLA Public Schools is excited for the rest of this 24-25 school year journey with our families, watching our students dive into learning, growth, and success. As the school year continues, our dedicated educators are focused on keeping every student engaged and motivated. Let's keep embracing new challenges, celebrating achievements, and supporting each other to make the rest of this year even more impactful. Stay connected with your school and NOLA PS through our social media channels for updates and resources. We're here to help our scholars attend today, achieve tomorrow.
Welcome to Chemical of the Month by the community scientists at Rise St. James. This month we spotlight phthalates, chemicals added to plastics, especially PVC, to make them more flexible and durable. But there's more. Research shows phthalates may disrupt hormones, affect reproductive health, and contribute to environmental pollution impacting our communities. Join us as we explore how these additives shape our everyday lives and the world around us. For more details, visit risestjames.org. Empower your knowledge with Rise.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. Happy Friday, everybody. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Shout out to my super producer, Naira Sanders. And as promised, I told you at the 7:25 mark, we would talk to our state rep, Matthew Willett, and he is here in studio with us. Good morning, state rep. How you doing?
Good morning, Dr. Wyatt. It's great to be here with you. Happy Friday, everybody.
Listen, I'm excited to talk to you. There are some things I want to talk to you about, but congratulations. I heard that you are throwing your name in the hat for the at-large seat.
Yes, thank you so much.
You want to briefly talk to us about that?
Sure. I've been in the legislature. This will be my 6th year. I think I've had good work, good results, helped the city, helped the state of Louisiana. Right now, I feel a calling to really come back to the city of New Orleans where I can be more laser focused on issues that affect our people every day. So I feel a calling to come back to the city and go into City Hall and address a lot of those issues that affect us day in and day out. So it was a tough decision, but for me, I think it's the right decision at this time.
Well, listen, I when I heard that you were doing that, I've always felt that those of you who are in Baton Rouge fighting for us, it may be a need to come back and protect the city of New Orleans, because we have to do everything that we can to ensure that the people of this community are protected, especially when it comes to all of these new bills and all this legislation that's happening that seems to be targeted specific to the city of New Orleans.
Yep.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
We'll be talking to everyone who have decided to put their names in different races, particularly the at-large seat. So we'll talk to everybody. We'll talk to Delisha Boyd at the 8 o'clock hour. We'll have her insight as to why she's also deciding to throw her name out there, and what does that look like in terms of the seat that she's vacating. So what does that mean? So when you decide to come from Baton Rouge, that means there's just a new crop of folk who are vying for your seat?
Yeah, so the way it works, since those both of those seats are not on the ballot at the same time, both of us would still be able to retain our state representative seats. Whoever wins would have to resign from that state representative seat, and then it would trigger an election to determine who would come behind us.
So we have to have a special election to seat that person.
Well, it depends on the timing. It could get put on the spring ballot in 26, so not necessarily a special election.
And can you talk to us briefly about how this works in terms of folk who are listening who may not know? How many at-large seats are there on the council?
So there's 2 council member at-large seats. They're both elected citywide. Right now we have council members J.P. Morrell and Helena Moreno. Somebody asked me, I was on a community call last night, somebody asked me what's the difference between the at-large members and the district members. Essentially, it's the same. You both have 1 vote. Everybody has 1 vote on the city council. But as far as the day in, day out job responsibilities, the council members at large have more time to focus on policy issues that could move the city forward, as opposed to the district members who deal a lot of their time with serving their districts, serving the constituents in their districts with quality of life issues like drainage and road work and broken street lights and issues like that, debris, litter, missed trash pickup days, code enforcement. So the good news is that as a council member at large, I love helping people. And so I get to focus on the policy stuff, but everybody in the city would also have sort of a second district council member, because I'd be happy to help everybody with those issues as well.
So here's my other question. There are 2 at-large seats, but there's only going to be, Helena Moreno is running for mayor.
Right.
I could only assume that the councilman, J.P. Morrell, is going to run again for his at-large seat. I haven't heard anything officially, but let's just assume that is the case. Are you guys all running for those 2 seats, or is it a specific seat based on the district that you live in? How does that work?
So you pick you pick the seat that you want to run for. I've decided to run for the seat that will be vacant by Helena Moreno.
Okay, so everybody has to pick the seat.
You
so
pick
y'all
the
are
seat
not
you want to
all
run
just
for.
generally running for the 2 open seats. You have to be specific to the
Yes.
seat you're running for.
Yes.
Thanks for the clarity, because I know there are questions that I'm trying to ask, the things that I think folk might want to know, and they're just not asking out loud. But I'm glad you're here to kind of make sense of all of that. But let's talk specific to the things that are happening. Louisiana voters recently rejected 4 constitutional amendments.
Give me a bell for that one, Doc.
4, like all the bells, right? Including significant tax reforms.
Yep.
But they're now making attempts to, because as they said, they felt like they tried to bite too much of the elephant at one time. So now they want to take smaller pieces. I know here on WBOK, we talked about Sebaugh's bill. I think that is 74, Bill 74, where initially proposed constitutional amendment number 3 was trying to lower the age of kids to 14 to try them as adults. So now he's doing another form of this bill where 15 and up will be charged with a felony. They will go to adult district court. And shout out to Rep. Delisha Boyd, because I shared this and this is the information I got back. Under 15, felony and misdemeanors will remain in juvenile court, as well as any misdemeanors for those 15 and above, right? So it seems like it's just another way to skin the cat.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sometimes elected officials can't get the message, and I think messages are sent very clear when it goes to a vote of the people, and the people overwhelmingly reject it. those 4 constitutional amendments only passed in, I believe, 14 parishes. The largest one it passed in was St. Tammany. It barely passed in St. Tammany, maybe like 53% of the vote. In the city of New Orleans, all 4 amendments were overwhelmingly rejected by about 90%. Dr. Wyatt, we can agree on not much,
but we agreed
at
on
90%.
that. Yes.
But for those amendments, the city of New Orleans said, no, this is not good for our city. This is not good for our state. But again, some elected officials can't get the message to me that says, we don't want this.
Yeah.
To some of our colleagues, it says, let's try it a different way. And we have to pay attention. The legislature is very important. Whether you pay attention to it or not, decisions are made that will impact your life, your children's life, your grandchildren's life, and they will be back to the table trying to figure out another pathway forward to get these 4 new amendments into the Constitution.
Yeah, and this is a question I had on the back end of the election. If the state overwhelmingly rejected this, right? Is there not like a buffer of time where you have to wait before you try to reintroduce it? You could just go right back at it?
Yes. So the way it works is constitutional amendments can be filed any session. We go into session every year. This year's a fiscal session. Every other year is a regular session, but you can file a constitutional amendment during any session. Constitutional amendments only appear on statewide ballots. So this year we do not have a statewide ballot. However, you can pass a bill that creates a statewide ballot. So although we don't have a statewide ballot this year, if they want to put new constitutional amendments on the ballot, I assume they're going to pass a bill to create a statewide ballot this year and send it to the people again.
See, this is why we need folk like you. We need folk like you, folk like Rep. Delisha Boyd, Senator Dr. Joseph Boyd. We need y'all in places and spaces where these sorts of things are happening. So my only hope is that those of you who are deciding to come back and protect the home front of New Orleans, that we could rise up some folk to go back to Baton Rouge and fight against things like this, because it's scary to think that all y'all are doing, all they are doing is sitting around trying to create policies and things that seem to want to harm the most marginalized groups of people. Because even when we talk about these tax reforms, can you talk to us briefly about how they were packaging this thing like it was a teacher pay raise, a permanent teacher pay raise? We know that it wasn't a permanent teacher pay raise. So why is it that if these lawmakers believe in the bills that they're crafting, that they have to be disingenuous about what those bills really mean?
Well, let me say this, Doc. A lot of the Republicans in the legislature were not supportive of those tax measures during the special session in November. If you were to come up there and talk to some of them, they would tell you that they don't believe that this is going to give a pay raise to the teachers in their districts. At the end of the day, the governor of Louisiana is very powerful, not just Governor Landry, but the governor, the position in Louisiana is a very powerful position. And unfortunately, a lot of the Republicans just fall in line. I'm hoping that the failure of the 4 amendments a couple of weeks ago will get more people to vote and stand on their convictions. The teacher pay raise issue was a ploy to me, because the normal way that we go about giving a teachers a pay raise in Louisiana is to increase funding to the MFP, the Minimum Foundation Program. So you increase funding there, and then the school districts give the teachers a pay increase. What this bill was proposing to do, what Amendment 2 was proposing to do, was pay down debt early for the teachers' retirement system of Louisiana. By paying down that debt early, you save on the back end from not having to make interest payments. And those savings was going to be the money used to give teachers a pay increase. It was not permanent, because at some point that money runs out. Also, it would not be applied equally across the board, because only school districts paying into the teachers' retirement system of Louisiana receive those savings. And as an all-charter district, essentially in the city of New Orleans, it would not have benefited our teachers and our support staff in the city of New Orleans.
And that's the part. That's why we need a mind like yours, a mind like all of the folk who are fighting. And I know I called all of y'all. I got y'all in my phone. I'm like, when I want to know something, I'm texting and I'm asking, because I don't proclaim to know it all, but I have a thirst for trying to understand something. I knew it wasn't a permanent teacher pay raise, and I knew the explanation would hurt New Orleans because we're a district unlike the other 63 parishes. So I knew to peddle that here. My question was, what are you going to do when the teachers found out that they were bamboozled, right?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? And it wasn't going to be on the governor. It was going to be on the Louisiana Federation of Teachers who supported it, right? All of these teacher unions who were supporting it, because you are the entity we pay our dues to. You're the entity that's there to protect us. So if you're saying this is a good thing and you're saying we're going to get this raise, and I believe you and I vote for it, and then if it passes and I don't get my money, they're not looking at Governor Landry. They're coming to you saying, what's going on? Where's our money? So I'm glad that you broke it down that way, because specific to New Orleans, we would have not benefited from that.
And let me tell you, in committee, Governor Landry's team said that they were committed to offsetting any gap that school districts had to give the teachers a pay raise. So if a district didn't realize enough savings to give the pay raise,
so we were going to have to depend on
we would have to beg for our money that we were rightly owed. Exactly.
And that's kind of like what's happening right now locally. Our school district is begging for the money that is already owed to them, and our city is hiring lawyers to fight to not give the money, right? And that's kind of like what's happening, right? We're spending money, chasing money that you're going to ultimately have to pay out anyway. So I'm glad you broke it down that way. Another issue that I want to talk to you about is Governor Landry's hiring freeze. And so it's about all state agencies. How do you interpret this move, and what does it signal about the state's fiscal outlook?
Well, I don't know if you're aware, but I think last year the governor created Louisiana Doge.
Yes.
So if you're aware of that, then you know what's going on.
Yes.
The hiring freeze, I don't know if that has a true impact on the state of Louisiana. Right now, for me, I kind of viewed it more as a performative measure,
like those executive orders that our president is scribbling on all the time.
Yeah, I kind of view it that way, kind of as, you voted my amendments down, so
retaliation.
Now I have to
revenge.
Yeah, now I have to take some action.
Yeah.
But we'll keep an eye on it. I know some of the departments were trying to hire new people. And so I don't know what it's going to do to the daily productivity and work that's needed to be done by some of the departments. As of now, I haven't heard any major concerns from anybody.
Well, let me say this to you, Matt, and I'll say this to Delisha when she comes. I've said it to Rep. Candace Noel when she was here. I believe the city of New Orleans is extremely proud of the work that y'all are doing in Baton Rouge.
Thank you.
I've heard wonderful things about this this caucus that we have that's out there, and I'm trying to figure out how we could keep y'all up there and come home. Like I don't know how if that's possible, because I've heard some wonderful things. I mean, Royce Duplessis, and I give credit where it's due. Like I say things because I wanted to see a stronger stance from our New Orleans delegation about the assault that I felt like was happening to New Orleans. And I feel like with these 4 proposed constitutional amendments, we came together in a way that made the city proud. And so, thank you for your service in Baton Rouge. And I'm very, very proud that you're coming home to kind of focus more on the city. And so, like I said, hopefully whoever fills the seat, when the seat has to be filled, they do so with the same tenacity that you guys are doing right now. But I want to ask you, what areas of the budget, because with the passing of the SAFE Act that's happening nationally, what areas of the budget do you believe should be protected at all costs, and where might you support reasonable cuts?
Supporting reasonable cuts, that would be tricky. Areas that we have to protect in Louisiana are going to be healthcare, education, a lot of the coastal measures that we do, with CPRA. Healthcare, Louisiana is one of the most unhealthy states in the country, right? Any reduction in dollars going toward Medicaid programs in Louisiana is just going to lead to more emergency room visits. So it's going to end up costing the state more money in the long run anyway, short term as well. as far as education goes, I'm sure you're familiar with the Louisiana Gator program, which is the expansion of the voucher program.
I'm not for it.
Yeah, neither am I. You know, we tried to rally the troops and kill that. The good thing, although that program was created, it's subject to appropriations. And so right now, based on last year's budget, we funded it to a level just to cover the students who are in the voucher program so that those students wouldn't lose their funding. This year, the governor is trying to put several $1 million on top of that to sort of expand the LA Gator program, the voucher program. And I do not support that, especially right now where we have to find another $200 million to make sure at a minimum that the teachers and support staff in Louisiana get the same stipend that they've received the last 2 years. Because if they don't get that $2,000 stipend, $1,000 for support staff, they essentially get a pay reduction. And so we have to figure out a way in the budget to come up with another $200 million. And for me, the money that was allocated to the LA Gator program
could have done it. Could
easily.
have plugged the hole. Yeah.
Well, it's not could, can.
Yeah.
Can, because we still have to debate and approve that budget. And so that'll be one of the big focuses for our caucus this session. Not only making sure that the teachers get their pay raise, but also looking at Medicaid and a lot of stuff coming from HHS out of Washington, D.C. I mean, it's so fast, Dr. Wyatt, that at any moment you could receive some devastating news that could just throw a huge wrench in Louisiana's budget.
Listen, we talked extensively here. I know I did about the LA Gator program, and to me, it just felt like another way to strip public schools of much needed funding.
Exactly.
More of a way to shore up the privatization of public schools. And it seems to me that this state can always find funding when it's about stripping the public entity, but when the public entity needs the money, we're always trying to act as if there's nowhere for the money to be found.
Absolutely.
And that is my problem with it. And I will always staunchly defend public education, because we know that more often than not, that system is there for communities who are already struggling fiscally. The monies are just not there. There are no books in some of these schools. There's no curriculum in some of these schools. And we're always looking for additional ways to take more from them.
And what I'll say about the LA Gator program is, although it would provide, I think, up to $5,000 for a student, you have a lot of schools, private schools, that cost more than that, right? And so what is a family supposed to do if there's that gap?
They don't want to talk about that part, because that part is going to be the deterrent for a lot of families. But you put the fallacy out there like we're going to pay, for this. And I know personally some families who are dealing with that right now. Even without the LA Gator program, they are promised these tuition coverages at these schools, and then they realize, well, we're not paying it all.
And the other big thing on the LA Gator program is they refuse to embed any type of accountability or transparency.
Yeah.
And I think that is, for me, right there.
Because
just
they don't want you to know that the people who are already wealthy and rich are benefiting from this program as well.
Testing required.
Absolutely.
I mean, our public school students have to take tests. I think if we're going to use public dollars to
they need to test.
They need to in the same test so you can compare apples to apples. And they just refuse to have any of that part of the program. And so for me, that's a red light right there.
And I
don't
mean,
where all the
and I don't mean just
stops.
the kids who are receiving the money. I'm saying that if Matt Wheeler takes public dollars to go to a private institution, then Matt Wheeler makes that private institution eligible for state testing. That is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, they wouldn't even let Matt Willard take the test.
I'm just saying if that because if my public money is there and my public money is responsible for your presence there, then your presence there makes that establishment open to testing. Because then and only then can we actually see if the academics are even on par. You cannot compare two separate things.
You're right.
And so I want to know from you, what are your top legislative priorities this session, and how have they shaped the bills that you've pre-filed?
All right. So the first one I'll talk about is education related.
Come on.
I know you're going to like that.
I know you want to talk about that.
Yeah. All right. So last year, the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education removed a requirement that students have to apply for FAFSA before graduating high school, right?
Yes.
For me, students applying for FAFSA before they graduate opened college opportunities for kids who never had it on their radar. And they never had it on their radar either because they knew there was no way that they could afford it, or there's no way that their family thought that the kid would go to college because the family can't afford it. Right. But you apply for FAFSA, you find out you can get money to attend college, and a lot of kids became college students because of that.
Yes.
By eliminating that requirement, what we saw is that nationally, students applying for FAFSA has increased. But in just a year, Louisiana has plummeted. And we were in the top 10 percentage for public school students graduating from high school applying for FAFSA. And now we're like middle of the road. I think we're 23 or 24.
We hustling backwards.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So a few years ago, we made a curriculum change to say that the schools had to teach about financial literacy.
Yeah.
And so this session, I have a bill that says as part of that financial literacy curriculum, the schools have to educate the kids about FAFSA and other scholarship and grant opportunities. So that's one of my priority bills this session. Also, Doc, I've done a lot on affordability issues, especially on the homeowner side, dealing with property taxes and insurance, homeowners insurance. I have a bill this year to increase the homestead exemption from $75,000 to $125,000. The homestead exemption has been $75,000 since the 1970s. And if you look at the average price of a sold home in the country, it's increased about tenfold by then. And so I think I have a lot of evidence and a good argument to increase that homestead exemption this session as well. That would be a constitutional amendment, but I know if I can get it out of the legislature, the people of Louisiana would support it, especially South Louisiana, because home ownership is becoming increasingly unaffordable because of property taxes and insurance premiums in South Louisiana. Over the past few years, I have really tried to move the needle forward as it relates to birthing outcomes in Louisiana. For everybody who's listening, you should be aware that Louisiana is one of the worst states for a woman to give birth. We have way too many mothers dying, and we have way too many babies dying during pregnancy and delivery. So one thing that I've done is work with my colleagues in the legislature to make sure that we have insurance coverage for midwifery and doula care. Doulas are essentially a pregnancy coach. There's all kind of studies out there that link access to a doula to improve birthing outcomes. So a couple of years ago, I passed legislation to where doulas could get reimbursed through health insurance to make it more accessible to the people of Louisiana. LDH has had some issues with the execution of it, so unfortunately, no doulas have been reimbursed through healthcare insurance right now. So I have a bill this session that will streamline that process so that we can start getting doulas reimbursed through healthcare insurance and improving birthing outcomes. I have a bill that would double the earned income tax credit. The earned income tax credit is a tax credit that working families get. It's a tax credit you get at the federal level. For Louisiana state income taxes, you're eligible for 5% of the federal credit. So I have a bill this session that would double it to 10%. I also have another tax bill to create a child tax credit in Louisiana. I filed this bill before. If you recall, during COVID, President Biden expanded the child tax credit at the federal level. And what it did was essentially lift a number of kids living in poverty out of poverty overnight. And that's what the data suggests for the child tax credit. So I have a bill to create a child tax credit in the state of Louisiana. So I have a few other bills, Doc.
You've been busy.
Yeah. So I have a few other bills. It's a fiscal session. And I really get into tax policy. I'm on the Ways and Means Committee, so that's the committee that handles all the tax bills. So I get into tax policy, so I have a few tax bills that I'm working on this session as well.
And talking about things fiscally related, with the uncertainty around federal funding cuts from the Trump administration, how is the legislature preparing for potential budget shortfalls?
So we had our Democratic caucus retreat 2 weeks ago. And the Legislative Fiscal Office came and spoke to us, and they said right now there are no immediate impacts to the budget based on federal decisions. Immediate meaning the fiscal year, the the upcoming fiscal year. Obviously, it's always subject to change, right? Changes to Medicaid could really hurt us. I don't know if the president is still talking about eliminating FEMA, but obviously,
Yes.
if that
Yes.
happens, I think it would be prudent of the state to stash some money into a protected fund for natural disasters, because we'll have to respond quickly if we can't count on the federal government. So right now, last we heard a couple weeks ago from the fiscal office, there is no immediate impacts, but it's always subject to change as far as I'm concerned. So we just have to pay attention.
And listen, so here's the big question. How do you plan to work across the aisle in what is expected to be a fiscally restrained session?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been able to do that over the last 5 years, work with some of my Republican allies. I think this session might be tough, but you got to pay attention to what's going on right now. Right now, Governor Landry and Insurance Commissioner Tim Temple are at odds.
Yeah, I saw that. I read that article yesterday.
Yeah, so they're publicly bickering. I think you have a lot of Republicans in the legislature who were upset that they were forced, but strong-armed into having to make some votes during the tax session in November that were bad for their districts. And I think some of them will be hesitant to make similar votes again. And so when you're aware of that type of insight, you can use it and build alliances to help on certain issues. So that's kind of how I've approached the legislature the last few years. And so nothing will change. I'll do it that way again.
And how are you engaging with your constituents to make sure that their voices are heard in this high-stakes session?
Yeah. So I go to all my neighborhood association meetings. So I'm always, providing updates, getting their consensus on issues, typically do a survey on the big ticket issues for the upcoming session. That way I have it in a spreadsheet to know how my district feels about certain issues. Obviously coming on the Good Morning Show and talking
that's a bell.
and talking about what's going on, and happy to come back whenever y'all want us. And then social media, social media, just staying engaged, and emails. I do emails during session to let people know what's going on, because knowledge is power.
Yeah.
We saw it with the 4 constitutional amendments a couple of weeks ago. I think when people have access to the information, they can make informed decisions. And people are not afraid of going to the polls to vote when they know that the stakes are huge. And as far as I'm concerned, the stakes are huge in every election cycle in the state of Louisiana.
Absolutely. And so when we talk about getting the folk out to vote, because the stats and the data says we have the numbers out there.
Mm-hmm.
How do we make certain that we get them into the voting booth to cast a ballot?
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily forcing them in one direction or the other, but how do we get this voter apathy lifted so that people can start to engage in their civic responsibility?
So I'm chair of the Democratic caucus, and one thing that I've consistently said is that I think Republicans beat us on messaging, because their messaging is very simple. It may be not true,
yeah,
but it's very.
Which is what I think the Vote No to All For Y'all campaign helped, because it
that's
was
where I was
simple
going.
and clean,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Our message is very complex. A lot of times it's complex because we want to explain the issue and make sure people understand what's going on. You want to be transparent.
But you need to be concise.
The vote no on all 4 was an easy message. Nobody could forget that. It was easy to share. And I think we have to learn from that election cycle that simple messaging is better. And so I think that is something that we have to pick up on moving forward.
So you have about 35, 40 seconds to close out. Give the people what you want them to hear as you depart from us. But thank you for being here and sharing your time with us. But you have the floor now. Thank
you, Dr. White. And happy Friday. I hope everybody has a great weekend. This is Matthew Willard. We start the legislative session Monday. I'll be representing the city of New Orleans in District 97 like I always do. Please don't lose this opportunity. We have momentum. We have enthusiasm right now with the failure of those 4 amendments. Stay engaged. Stay connected to your elected officials, and together we can move our state and our city forward. Absolutely, and promise that once you qualify, you'll come back. Absolutely. To have some more in-depth whatever you want to talk about. Specifics to that at-large seat. Absolutely. Thank you for being here, Matt. Listen, this has been a good one, and at the top of the 8 o'clock hour, we'll hear from State Rep. Delisha Boyd. Right now, you've heard from State Rep. Matthew Willard, and he's also running
for the open at-large seat on the city council. So please make certain that you get to know all of the folk who are asking for your vote in this upcoming election cycle. But thank you to State Rep Matthew Willer for joining us this morning. But y'all stay with us. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk about the news like nobody else can do right here at WBOK 1230 AM, who New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Another really nice day is in store. Sunshine continues with highs in the mid-70s to low 80s with a nice breeze. We stay clear today and tonight, lows in the 40s and the 50s. Cooler Saturday with highs in the low to mid-70s, but it will be sunshine for all the activities. Warming up Sunday with highs in the upper 70s to low 80s. More dry weather next week. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Jazz Fest 2025 is almost here. Don't miss Lil Wayne and The Roots, Lenny Kravitz, Burna Boy, Thames, Patti LaBelle, Trombone Shorty, Gladys Knight, Babyface, Tank and the Bangers, Branford Marsalis, Kamasi Washington, The Wailers, featuring Julian Marley, Ledisi Sings Nina, and hundreds more at the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, presented by Shell, April 24th through May 4th. Tickets and info at nojazzfest.com. Miller Lite, official sponsor of Jazz Fest. Welcome to Liberty Bank and Trust, where your financial journey transforms communities. Since 1972, our customized banking solutions power your dreams and fuel your community growth. Every dollar you invest with us circles back to empower more people, ensuring opportunities for generations. Join us at Liberty Bank. Together, we empower possibility. Visit libertybank.net to start banking with purpose. Liberty Bank, there's freedom here.
New Orleans, if you know a young adult or you are a young adult, listen up. This is your chance to level up your future.
Job One's Young Adult Career Expo is going down April 16th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 1307 Aretha Castle Haley Boulevard.
Put on your best outfit, grab your resume, and meet employers from across the city.
Some of them might even hire you on the spot. This is your moment. Get ready with Job One.
Tell a teen, tell a cousin, tell everybody 16 and up. Register now at job1nola.org.
Paid for by the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. I want to say a big old thank you to State Rep Matthew Willard. And as I said, as he was sitting in the seats, I'm extremely proud of the work that our caucus is doing up in Baton Rouge. And I'm even more proud that folk want to come home and protect the home front. And my only hope is that whomever rises up to fill these vacancies do so in the same, with the same energy of protecting the city of New Orleans and doing what is best for the people of the states of Louisiana. And so thank you to State Rep Matthew Willard for joining us this morning. And I look forward to continue conversations with him once he qualifies for that open at-large seat. I'm excited to have some more in-depth conversations as it relates to being on the city council with him in the wake of his qualification for the seat. And during the conversation with State Rep Matthew Willard, we were talking about the SAFE Act. And you might not know, because there's so much going on in Washington. But the House passes the GOP voting bill that could disenfranchise millions. The United States House of Representatives voted Thursday to pass the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, a major voter suppression measure that, if it became law, could disenfranchise millions of eligible voters and badly undermine the U.S. democracy. The vote count was 220 to 208. So that tells you about 4 Democrats had to also vote for this, right? And so they had to vote with the Republicans on this. There were 0 Republicans opposing this. So all of the Republicans and 4 of the Democrats voted for the SAVE Act. The Democrats who voted for the bill are Reps Jared Golden out of Maine, Marie Gluesenkamp Perez out of Washington, Henry Collier out of Texas, and Ed Case out of Hawaii. The SAVE Act will make it more difficult for active voters, Republicans and Democrats alike, to continue participating in elections and would erect unprecedented barriers for new voters hoping to register and participate. The bills appear to face long odds in the Senate, where it would need 60 votes to overcome an expected Democratic filibuster. In a bold new departure from the forces of voter suppression, MAGA's so-called SAVE Act will make it harder for tens of millions of eligible Americans to vote, including tens of millions of people, mostly women, who changed their names after marriage. Rep. Jamie Raskin, a Democrat out of Maryland, told Democracy Docket in a statement, "Every eligible voter should be able to access the ballot box free from legislated intimidation, trickery, and harassment." Republicans have pursued the SAVE Act under the guise of preventing non-citizens from voting, which they portray as an existential threat to the American electoral system. In fact, illegal voting by non-citizens and fraud in general is extremely rare. This isn't about protecting voters or our elections. It's about politicians who want to protect themselves and pick and choose their voters. But that's not how democracy works, Molly McGrath, the director of ACLU's National Voting Rights Campaign, said in a statement, calling on the Senate to reject the act. "I am leading the fight in the Senate to push back against the effort to disrupt our already safe and secure elections. This bill cannot pass the Senate, and I will fight every step of the way to block it," Senator Alex Padilla out of California said in a statement, a Democrat out of California. Among its changes, the bill will require everyone registering to vote or updating their registration information to present documents proof of citizenship in person. Recent studies have shown that millions of eligible voters lack easy access to documents that prove their citizenship, like a passport, birth certificate, or naturalized papers. As many as 21.3 million United States citizens, more than 9% of voters, do not have such documents readily available. And over 3.8 million people, around 2% of the voters, don't have any proof, according to recent surveys. Those are results gathered by the Brennan Center for Justice and other organizations. So listen up, y'all. They're trying to make it extremely hard to disenfranchise folk and to suppress their right to vote. So please pay attention to the SAVE Act. It passed the House, and now it's up to the Senate. But right now, y'all, as promised, we are getting ready to jump into conversation with State Rep Delisha Boyd, talking about the upcoming sessions and proposed hazing act that she has authored. So good morning, State Rep Delisha Boyd. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh no, thank you for being here. So we can jump into the hazing act. I see that you authored some legislation around hazing and trying to prevent hazing, and I also see that there are some stories coming out of Tulane University as it relates to hazing. Can you talk to us about that?
Absolutely. And on the heels of that, I got news this morning that there was an incident at Loyola's campus as well, and an arrest warrant has been issued. So I'm trying to pick up on that story. It's shocking to me that hazing is still as prevalent as it was back in the 80s all of a sudden. But this bill will stand to have a class where not only the kids that are being hazed understand that they don't have to stand for it and can still join these organizations, but also the kids that are doing the hazing. because clearly they're not up on like the consequences behind hazing. Hazing now with bodily harm is a felony offense. I think we need to just start educating all of our kids as they move through the system, because it's not just the fraternities and sororities. My understanding now is the bands haze and certain sports, they haze as well. Where's the brotherhood in that? And I want these kids to understand that they have options here. They don't have to allow themselves to be hazed and will still be initiated in.
I don't know if you were listening in earlier, but we had State Rep Matthew Willett on at the 7:25 hour, and I was congratulating him because he threw his name in the hat for the at-large seat. And I want to also do the same here with you and say congratulations for offering yourself up to serve the citizens of this city. So congratulations for putting your name in the hat to run for the open statewide seat. So congratulations there. I wanted to just share that because I did mention you at the top of the 7 o'clock hour when we were talking about Sebaugh's bill to once again go after lowering the age of children who can be tried in adult courts for crimes that are already outlined by the legislature. So I just wanted to say that and be very clear about that. So congratulations there.
Thank you so much for that.
No, you're welcome. And let's talk about the upcoming session. What are your priorities there? Are there any bills that you want us to know about that your constituents should know about?
Absolutely. We know now that I filed the Caleb Wilson Act is going to be very near and dear to me. I am also filing, once again, the exception of rape and incest to our very harsh abortion laws. That is also something that's a personal journey for me. I hope that, I could at least get it to the floor. It's not likely, but, young girls are getting their cycles as young as 9 years old. We can't possibly think that a 9-year-old has the capability of carrying a baby to term without herself dying in childbirth. We haven't even mastered or figured out how to save mothers of age of dying in childbirth in this state. So that is a personal journey of mine. I will fight to have that done as long as I am alive. I'll keep fighting that bill to have that bill come out. Also, in the wake of a student recently that died at Xavier and one at Southern a couple of years ago, I have a mental health bill for colleges and universities as well. I learned Congressman Carter had a mental health symposium last summer, and it was very enlightening for me to hear several HBCU presidents and chancellors talk about their inability to help kids that are going through mental crisis because of their age. They're not even allowed to call the parents because they are technically adults. So this bill will provide a waiver that the kids can sign as they register before freshman orientation that will allow the parents to be able to receive information, frees the university up if they see that this kid is entering a mental health crisis, be able to also get the support of the parents for these kids. So that is also very important to me in the wake of post the pandemic. The numbers of suicides have gone up with our kids. Depression, anxiety has gone up. Several manic episodes are happening with our kids. We want to make sure that they get the help that's needed as well. I'm also filing a bill, I have filed a bill, that will add the LGBTQ community as a protected class. I've also run that bill every session since I have been elected, and it dies in committee as well. We definitely understand that we're in a supermajority Republican House with 73 of them standing, and we are only 32 on the other side. So they really can vote without any help from us. But as long as I'm there, we may not have the vote, but they definitely will have my voice.
So how are you balancing the pressing fiscal challenges facing the state with the urgent need to address student safety and well-being across college campuses?
Well, once again, we have a governor last year that took line items out across the Dem party, especially the Black Caucus. We will continue to put forward fiscal responsibilities that can help our universities and colleges. We definitely, this is the case where voting matters. Voting absolute matters. The Republicans can get together. They may disagree, but when they leave that room, they're all on one accord. We have to start banding together, make sure that we did an awesome job of getting the vote out on those last amendments. So we know now that we have the capability of doing it. I was at a meeting yesterday, and someone said, well, the amendments did so well because there were no people on the ballot that were arguing and mudslinging against each other. We need to start learning. If we want to help our community, it's the unity that will help get us there.
So, absolutely. And you mentioned the Caleb Wilson Act, and you've been a strong voice in the fight to end hazing in Louisiana. What first motivated you to take action on this issue, and how has your work evolved since then?
Well, I know his aunt, his mother's sister, is a very dear friend of mine, Shannon Joseph, and she and I have been conversing since the day after Caleb died. So I'm in constant contact with them. I'm meeting with his parents on Monday. The amount of pain that they have endured, and to hear them pour their heart out, I had to find some kind of way to try to assist with that. His father and continuously talked about educating our children on what hazing is what led me to file that bill. They are in total support of it. They want to make sure that it is not an elective, that it's something that will be required of the children moving forward. And I absolutely agree with them. Since Caleb has passed away, Tulane has suspended 2 of their fraternities. Loyola had an incident as well. We want to head this off as soon as possible. We don't want this to become an epidemic with these kids, again, where they're, quote unquote, following traditional practices. It's now time to make some new traditions.
And I just want to make a correction, because the WBOK listening audience is very, very, they're avid listeners. So I just want to make the clarification that State Rep Delisha Boyd is running for the open at-large seat for the city council. So if I said state seat, my apologies. I meant the open at-large city council seat. So I just wanted to make that clarification. State Rep, I apologize if I misspoke.
Oh, I didn't catch it.
Yeah. But they're listening and they caught it, and so they wanted me to.
I love it.
To make the clarification. So I just wanted to make the clarification that you are running for the open at-large seat for the city council.
And look, since everybody's listening, I love to encourage people to get involved with what's going on at our state capital right now and in the future. We need your support because we are in the minority up there. It is a comfort to look back in the gallery when I'm presenting a bill to see the support come off of testimonies into your green cards in support of the bill, or red cards on things that we know that will be harmful to our community. Our voice is all we have right now until the elections come up again. Let's start planning right now as well. Some of these low-hanging fruit seeds we can definitely get when we decide to band together on one accord with one voice moving forward. We can definitely take back control, at least not be in a supermajority. So I encourage your listeners to stay involved with our process.
And just talking about issues with higher ed, not just the hazing issues, but with the budget and revenue matters taking center stage at the session, how do you plan to advocate for investments in higher education and campus safety within these fiscal constraints?
Well, I have said time and time again that proper funding of education, especially of our school teachers, will also curb other things in our community that are hurting. When a kid is properly educated and followed throughout the system, there's no crime involved. The quality of living is different. So we have to continue fighting not only for higher ed, but early childhood education, because that's where it begins. That has been my position since I was elected. That will continue to be my position moving forward. Also on our city level, being innovative, trying to figure out new ways where we can also pay our teachers more money as well.
I could ring a bell for that. The teachers need to be paid. But with a tight session schedule running through June 12th, how are you staying connected with your constituents and ensuring their voices are reflected in your work this year?
Well, I do mail-outs to my constituents. When there's an election coming around, I do mail-outs to get their ideas on things that will be of interest to my community during the session. I get feedback from my mail-outs, so I'm pretty well prepared, and I hope I will continue to make my constituents, not only in my district, but across New Orleans, happy about the work that I'm doing.
So given the limited ability to introduce new bills after the session starts, what strategies are you using to prioritize your legislative efforts early?
Well, we have a filing deadline, so that's nothing new across the board, but also meeting with different advocacy groups. Their support has been essential. We saw the outpouring of support during those horrible amendments that came from all types of advocacy groups. And can I tell you, I'm really proud of the Divine Nine and their social justice committees and how they stepped up as well. So I keep in constant contact with all of those groups to help me get my message out, to support my bills. Also, great bills that are being filed by other legislators. We have to show up and show out, not be intimidated because we are outvoted. We have to be able to get our voice on record, and advocates help us do that.
So if the critical issues like campus safety or education funding don't get fully addressed this session, do you have a plan to ensure that they get addressed at some point?
They'll get addressed this session, Dr. White. I'm not really concerned about that. I don't think that anybody will be voting against the Caleb Wilson Act, but the amount of support that we will have when that bill enters committee, it's going through the Education Committee. I've already reached out to the chairperson of that committee. I'm hoping to get some bipartisan support, because it's not only African American sororities and fraternities that have the hazing. The two Tulane suit fraternities that were canceled, suspended yesterday, were not African Americans. So it's definitely not hazing, does not have a name on it, does not have a race on it, does not have a party on it. It's happening across the board. I hope that we will definitely have bipartisan support on that bill moving forward.
Absolutely. And can we briefly just discuss Governor Landry recently issued a hiring freeze across all state agencies. How do you interpret this move, and what does it signal about the state's fiscal outlook?
Well, I mean, Governor Landry and several of the Republicans, they are not looking to create any creative change on any level. Everything that they do is a power grab. We know that. They will most likely use the money also to attempt to silence people on getting money for their districts. This has been his layout since he was elected. We were talking about Donald Trump with the with his plan. We have a governor right here that started the day he was elected as well on their plan. So they're following Project 2025 to a T. We need to now band together and use the tactics that we know work. We don't have Project 2025, but we have people right now that are living that showed us the way on how to win when they have control. We have advocates here, people who lived during the 60s and the 70s. They won with less resources. So we have the capability of doing it here as well. Our ground game has to be strong and out voicing the things that we want and the things that we need, and also keeping the public informed on what's happening in Baton Rouge. A lot of people have no idea the amount of travesty that we have to deal with out there.
Yeah, and so I want to say this to you because I shared this with State Rep Matthew Willard when he was here. Excuse me. I want to say how proud I am of you guys. I know you said y'all are outnumbered up there, but you are doing what we need you to do for us in Baton Rouge, and I thank you for that. I thank you for your fight there, and I thank you for offering yourself up to protect this city. By running for the at-large seat. And I wanted to say that to you because I said it to him. I've said it to Candace Noel when she was here. I've said it to Royce Duplessis. I just wanted to thank y'all for the work that y'all are doing to protect this city and to protect the constituents of the state of Louisiana in Baton Rouge. So thank you for your service there.
Absolutely. Our Orleans delegation is solid. We generally know how to rise up and stand together and support each other in the midst of all the craziness of Baton Rouge. We watch the Republicans go in a room. We know that they have come out fighting, but when they walk out that room, they're on one accord. They vote against their interests. We have white women that vote against equal pay for women. Senator Gary Carter is running that bill again this session. We were only allowed to bring 5 bills, so I'm a co-author on that bill this session because my 5 spots were already taken. But you have to know that white women don't want to vote against equal pay for women. But they come together, they decide for control of any situation, you're going to forego this, and they do it. There are white women that vote against having control of their own reproductive systems. You can't possibly think that that's what they want. We showed up and showed out on those horrible 4 amendments, so we know that we know how to stand in unity when it counts the most. So we have to have more of that, keeping our constituents involved, also letting them know what's happening. We'll win this battle. It won't be comfortable in the next 3 years, but we know that when we stand together, it's powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to ask you about what are areas of the budget that you believe should be protected at all costs, and where might you support reasonable cuts?
Education, Dr. Wyatt. We are seeing the outcomes of us not protecting what we bring out in education. However, that is also control of them. It's no different than what happened in slavery. We don't educate the children, so they don't know what to fight for. We have to then stand up and fight for our kids the way someone fought for us. We have to maintain an education budget. We have to pay our teachers. We should not be allowing money to be taken out of any system put into private schools. It is up to us, not only the legislators, because again, we're in the minority there, but also the constituents to stand up and fight with us for what we know is right.
Absolutely. I am with you 100%. I think any effort to strip the public sector, the public school sector, of its funding and resources is a bad move. It's not going to sustain us in the long run. And but I think that's the goal. I think the goal is to shutter public education, and we have to protect it at all costs because there are so many families, just like Medicaid, there are so many families that depend on it to be able to bridge a divide, and we cannot allow it to fall by the wayside. We just cannot. And so when it comes to that, I appreciate you saying that.
Calling them out on what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, these are the same people who profess to be pro-life, but they don't want to feed the kids over the summer. They don't want to educate the kids during the school year. You know, if you're really pro-life, you're pro-life from the womb to the tomb. So
well, they're just pro-birth. They're pro-birth.
Yeah.
It can't be pro-life. Yeah. I mean, that's just what that is. Because
yeah.
if you don't want, marginalized communities of children to eat over the summer, you can't be pro-life. That's a humane issue at that point.
That's a humane issue.
Yeah.
You don't want them educated. What you want to do is give them a pipeline to prison, but you're pro-life. So get them here. During the session, through the tax session, when we were discussing arresting children as adults,
yeah.
Tony Bacala said, some of these kids are lost cause at 2 years old.
Yeah.
What in the world?
Yeah. That's a statement that sticks with me.
That also crafts their mindset. So
yeah.
you're gonna fight to make someone bore a child and then tell them because they've had that child in certain communities that they're a lost cause at 2 years old. Help me understand that.
Yeah. So looking ahead, do you foresee a need for a special session later this year to address unresolved issues from this fiscal session?
Oh, we most definitely will. When Jeff Landry does not get his way, he will call a special session in a second. And also they want to have our constituents across the board just exhausted by the process.
Yeah.
Right? You have more elections that are happening. People are exhausted by the process of voting and not seeing results. Without being in tune to what we're dealing with, what they find is when they go out to vote, they see no change. This is, again, a part of their plan. Exhaust the process to no end.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the scary part. We were talking about the SAVE Act and all of the pitfalls to that. There's some conversations about women who've taken their husband's last name. They're making it harder for them to vote because if their documents don't match the name change, and they won't be able to vote. Does this not feel like another way to suppress vote?
Absolutely. It is definitely another way on top of the things that we had last year with our elderly community, with you not being able to witness more than 4 absentee ballots in a year. The people who are in nursing facilities can't allow the staff to witness things. This is all to discourage people from voting. You have to register every voter registration drive that you have. It is ridiculous. But however, look at this. They fight us on that because they know once we wake up and realize the control we have with our vote, that our vote really is our power, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
We have 118,000 more Democrats in the state of Louisiana. 118,000. They are fighting to suppress that because they know the moment we realize the control we have, the control is with the people, with the constituents, they're in trouble. All we have to do is show up and show out to vote. We win. It's not cliche. When we vote, we win. It's not a cliche.
And I heard you say that you guys are outnumbered up there, but what do you think the legislature can realistically accomplish this session, given the tight budget constraints and given the fact that you guys are outnumbered in Baton Rouge?
We have strategic ways of getting some things done. There's an art to how you file a bill. Most of them don't read. I'm going to tell you the majority of them don't read the bills that are there. They look at titles and decide what they're going to vote against. So it's strategic planning. You can get things done. Also, relationships go a long way. There's some of my bills where I've had Republicans say it's a good bill. It's just that's not the main goal of the Republican Party right now. So it's strategic planning, having conversations. We can get things done.
So how are you engaging your constituents to make sure that their voices are heard in this high-stakes session?
Oh, I do mail out to my constituents all the time. Right now, I'm getting back in where I gave a survey out on the things that are their top concerns. I gave my layout to what my bills cover over the sessions, the money that I'm trying to raise in the district. So my constituents, I'm very hands-on with them. We've had meetings with our HOA organizations, neighborhood organizations. So I'm very involved here.
Well, absolutely. And so we know that, we rejected these 4 constitutional amendments, including that significant tax reform package that the governor was trying to push through. What message do you think that this sends to voters, especially when you're talking about when we vote, we win, and this 118,000 plus voting base that we have access to? What message do you think it sends that we overwhelmingly and resoundingly voted these things down?
Well, hopefully what we realize with that is that we do have the power. The Republicans counted that as 4 wins. They were even a little cocky about it. I'm hoping that the voters realize now when we come together, when we keep the public informed of what's going on, that we do have the power to vote. And it was still considering we won and we won overwhelmingly, it was still a very low turnout.
Yes.
Imagine if we could get to a 50% turnout. Imagine if we could get to a 50% turnout. You know, apathy in voting is really across the board, Dr. Wyatt. It's white people, black people, Republicans, Dems, Independents are all apathetic. Just as a race of people, as a gender with women, we can't afford to be apathetic in this particular state. So once we decide and recognize the power, they're taking some of our seats right now, but we could win some of theirs because they're apathetic as well. We have to be strategic in planning. We know that the races statewide will be up again in 2028. Let's start planning now, looking at some of these seats that we can acquire really in our backyard, some low-hanging fruit areas. Once we decide that that is our way, we will win all the time.
And do you see this win with the 4 proposed constitutional amendments as a piece of leverage that you can then use to work across the aisle, especially in this fiscally restrained session?
They are across the aisle. Most of them are very arrogant and cocky. The thoughts are right now they're going to keep pushing, recrafting these amendments in different languages until they get it passed. Our job as elected officials, our job as the community is to keep our eye on what they're doing. When we see things transpiring and hear things that are coming up, to do exactly what we did leading into this last election. Meet, come up with a plan, inform, educate, and then voting.
No, absolutely. And again, I want to thank you again for all you're doing in Baton Rouge and all you're attempting to do here locally. But the floor is yours now. What messaging do you want to lead the WBOK listening audience with as it relates to what is happening in the legislature at this moment, or your intended run for the LR seat?
What my goal here today is, our legislative session starts on Monday. I will keep my constituents across New Orleans informed as to what's going on, the dates of when these bills are going to be heard. I'll definitely keep in touch with you, Dr. Wyatt. You and I talk pretty often. Support us. Help us by using your voice, coming down. And listen, if you can't make it to Baton Rouge and there's a bill that is of concern that we're concerned about, you can always send an email to the chairperson of that particular committee, ask that your email be read into the file. We can use our voice. They need to know that under no circumstances that we're going to lay down and be beaten. We have to fight. Again, most of us, I'm not going to live another 56 years. My fight is for my children and my grandchildren moving forward, to protect them, to make sure that they have at least the same amount of rights. How tragic would it be for my grandchildren to have less rights than what I have right now, or had as a child and a young woman growing up. Our unity is what's going to keep us. Our unity is what's going to beat them. So my ask of everyone in this listening audience is to stay in tune with us, help us, show up. I'm a fighter. I'll fight to the end. It is just great to know that I have support from my community when I'm fighting.
Well, thank you so much for your fight. We've been in conversation with State Rep Delisha Boyd, and we want to thank her for joining us this morning and sharing her expertise with us. And we want to once again congratulate her on her intended run for the City Council Open at Large seat. So thank you, Rep Delisha Boyd. Thank you for your service and congratulations. And we wish you all the best here at WBOK.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wyatt.
Have a great one. Listen, we have to go to break to hear from our sponsors, but when we come back, we're going to jump into conversation with Joel C. Dyson from Beyond the Stage LLC. He's the founder, y'all. Y'all stay with us right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
WBOK New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know with BIN News. The Supreme Court ruled President Trump can fire 2 independent agency watchdogs, reversing a lower court decision. Affected are members of the National Labor Relations Board and Merit Systems Protection Board. Arguments from the officials' lawyers will be heard next. New York City Mayor Eric Adams allows ICE to set up an office at Rikers Island for criminal investigations. Critics, including Black City Council Speaker Adrian Adams, say this endangers New Yorkers and supports Trump's deportation policies. Transgender pilot Joe Ellis sues conservative influencer Matt Wallace for falsely linking her to the D.C. plane crash that killed 67 people. Wallace's viral posts led Ellis to fear for her safety, requiring private security. And a Minecraft movie is set to dominate the box office again, expected to make $65 to $82 million this weekend. It debuted with $162 million, the best opening of the year. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
New Schools for New Orleans is committed to celebrating the hardworking teachers of New Orleans Public Schools. Join us at the 4th Annual NOLA Teacher Fest, sponsored by the All-State Sugar Bowl New Orleans teacher community. The NOLA Teacher Fest is happening Friday, May 2nd at Champion Square from 4 to 7 p.m. The fest is open to teachers, paraprofessionals, deans, coaches, counselors, and other school support staff. Visit our website to learn more and RSVP, www.newschoolsforneworleans.org.
Late nights are made for chillin', and you can do just that every Sunday night at 10 p.m. as DJ Wick brings you The Love Zone. It's the perfect way to top off your weekend with your favorite old and new school ballads. So sit back, relax, and let DJ Wick take you to the Love Zone on WBOK 12:30 a.m. and on the World Wide Web at WBOK1230.com.
Good morning. I'm Daryl Forges with WDSU News, and here's your headlines. The trade war between China and the U.S. intensifies. China retaliated against President Donald Trump's reciprocal tariffs by raising its levies on the U.S. goods to 125%. That's up from the previous 84% on Thursday. The Trump administration confirmed that the U.S. tariff on Chinese imports now totals 145%. A mother is grieving her 6-year-old boy, Mason Richards, who was struck and dragged by a school bus yesterday. Police say this happened Thursday morning on Desire Street. Mason was getting up out of his mom's car when they say he was hit by the school bus that he was supposed to be getting on. Richards died at the hospital a short time later. Mason was a student at KIPP Leadership. The school will have counselors on hand for students and staff. So far, no charges have been given to the driver, and speed is not believed to be a factor. 2 fraternities at Tulane University are in the dark as they face hazing allegations. Delta Tau Delta and Phi Kappa Sigma have been suspended. We're working to find out more details about exactly what happened. This investigation comes less than 2 months after Caleb Wilson, a Southern University student, was killed while pledging. All right, this weekend, the weather will be absolutely fantastic and filled with big events from the North Shore, the Ponchatoula Strawberry Fest, to the South Shore with the French Quarter Fest, and security measures will be ramped up for the French Quarter Fest. But regardless, have a great time and stay safe out there. I'm Daryl Forges, and that's your headlines for WBOK. Have a great Friday and a phenomenal weekend.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 12:30 a.m.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Shout out to my super producer. We are in studio at this moment with Joelle C. Dyson. She is the director or the founder of Beyond the Stage LLC. I know before the break I kept referring to her as a he, but we're going to put some respect on that feminine energy that's in the building this morning. So Joelle, welcome to the Good Morning Show. How
Thank
you doing?
you so much. I am doing well. I'm so blessed to be here. Thank you for having me this morning.
Listen, thank you for being here. It's often hard for folk to get up early and come converse with us on the Good Morning Show, so I'm glad to have you here. But we're here talking about Camp Art.
Yes.
Can you tell us what Camp Art is and what inspired its creation?
Yeah, so Camp Art is a space where children can come to learn about themselves through the arts, right? So we offer music, visual art, creative writing, fitness, dance, mindfulness classes every day, Monday through Thursday and Fridays. They are able to go on a cultural sort of field trip. Material Institute, we have for this year scheduled the music Box Village, which was super cool. That they visited that last year. Of course, Children's Museum. Every kid loves to go there. But it's just a very fun camp. We have great reviews every year from that. We have a lot of folks that come back. I started to think about sort of like a perfect space in terms of just a camp. In 2020, when the pandemic hit, I was sort of like restructuring like the business and like our programming. And I said, what was like the most fun time like of my life? And I remembered being at McDonald 15 in elementary school, and it was a creative magnet, creative arts magnet school, right? And I was
Shout out
like,
to the educators.
Yes, ma'am. And I was like, man, that was so cool. I learned a lot about myself. I grew in confidence. Knowledge, and I was just like, what if I could create that like in the summer for kids, but also while it's quality, making it affordable for just like the average working parent, right? Because when we think about camps,
it's expensive.
Listen,
it can get a bit pricey.
A bit pricey.
Yes, it can get a bit pricey. So let's talk about that. So off air, we were talking about you offering a discount to the WBOK listening audience to offset some of the priciness, and we'll get into that. We'll get into the camp days, the locations, all of those good things.
Yeah.
But how does Camp Art reflect the mission of Beyond the Stage as a boutique fine art school?
Yeah, so Camp Art is truly just a place where the teachers are artists in residence. We hire educators that are in the space of creating, right, from a day-to-day, on a day-to-day basis. And so that's number one. They're getting representation in front of them, right? They're getting people who are in the work, that the folks that are in the studio creating music, or in the art studio, like actually, creating. And so that's one aspect of how important it is for us to create spaces where kids can really become the artists that they envision themselves through supervision of those who are in the arts
and
in real time.
What age group is Camp Art targeted for?
Ages 4 to 12.
4 to 12.
Yeah.
And what can we expect at Camp Art? What sort of arts or hands-on things will the kids have access to at Camp Art?
Yeah, so it's really cool because not only are they experiencing all of these different classes, right, on a day-to-day basis, but we have an overarching theme that is centered around our very own culture, New Orleans, right? And so each week we have a subtopic. And so one week they may be studying foods, and we might say, okay, red beans, right? They might be studying folklore. Last year, I think we had the Rougarou. I didn't even know what the Rougarou was, but I learned so much about it, right? Yeah. And then one week they might be studying places. Last year we picked the Treme area, and the kids in art class, they made like these like abstract houses that reflected the houses in the Treme, and then they learned about the history of Treme. And so they're really actually not only creating every day, but they're learning, and they're going home and saying, Mom, I learned this.
So when we talk about Treme, you know, the educator in me is going to ask this question, but did we talk about the bridge, the overpass that is running through Treme and the significance of that? Because if not, we're going to add to the curriculum and make certain that they understand.
Oh, well,
Yeah, we
you
gotta-
know, that is something that we did not. So the fun thing is, like, each teacher has autonomy over how they want to approach.
We love that.
How they want to approach really disseminating information about each topic. As long as it's approved, right?
Yeah.
But they have that autonomy. So maybe one class might have learned that information while others might not have.
I
but,
love it.
yeah.
I love it. That was just the teacher in me.
I hear
Don't
you.
worry. Don't
I
worry.
hear you.
So walk us through a typical day at Camp Art. What can campers expect from the moment they arrive? So the day starts at...
Day starts at, I should say doors open at 8:50 in the morning. You arrive, you'll see teachers outside with a smile on their face, trying to make sure that you are aware that there are individuals there that care about you. They're excited to see you and welcoming you in. As soon as you walk in, you have a little free time to just kind of socialize with your peers, probably just for about 10 minutes. At 9 o'clock, we have a whole group meeting. We say a pledge every day that is just really profound.
You want to share
so
the pledge
cute.
with us?
I don't even know. Let me see if I can
That's
remember
okay.
it.
I mean, listen, when you think of it, if you can
I would
pull
love,
it up,
I
if
can
you can
pull it up
and share it with us.
Yes, of
you
course.
can-
But it's just it fills my cup, and I know it fills the kids' cup every day. It's very intentional. After we give announcements and they say that pledge, we break off into their groups. One group might go to visual art. Another group goes to creative writing. They switch. After that, lunchtime, recess. After that, they go to one last class. That might be music. It might be theater. It might be dance or fitness, or some sort of mindfulness class, right? And then we come back together as a whole group to just talk about the day. We pick a star of the day, and who really showed like the attributes of the pledge. And then that's it. They go home.
Sounds wonderful. So I'm going to tell them about the camp real quick. See if you can find us that pledge, because we're interested in knowing about the pledge. But as it relates to Camp Art fosters creative leadership in young people through standards-based planned activities that allow campers to engage in creative and critical thinking, participate in artistic productions, and explore academic subjects. Thematic topics of study focus on New Orleans, including its history, arts, people, folktales, places, food, and culture. It is located in New Orleans. The first session starts June 9th, and it runs to July 3rd. The second session starts July 7th, and it runs to August 3rd. The camp hours are 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. There's before and aftercare services starting at 7:45 in the morning, and it ends at the 4:45 mark for the aftercare services. The daily schedule: kids rotate through engaging classes in creative writing and visual arts each day, and an opportunity to experience music, theater, dance, and a fitness or mindfulness class weekly. What makes Camp Art special? It's the arts integrated curriculum that supports creative growth and social emotional development. There are weekly field trips, guest artists, and end-of-week camper showcases. It's safe, the environment is nurturing, and it celebrates every child's uniqueness. So, listen, just hearing from it, I hope that folks register. We're going to talk about the cost, and you can provide us with the contact and social media information as well. And the founder herself is here, Miss Joelle C. Dyson from Beyond the Stage. So if you find that that pledge, you could always share it with us. You know, we're going to continue to ask the questions while you look for it. But how do the creative writing, you got it?
Yes, I do.
Oh, we have the pledge, y'all.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So let's see. I think this is it, right?
It's okay.
Okay. So it says, I ask thoughtful questions and always do my best. I respect others and other ideas, even if this looks like, let's see. I think I'm missing a part of it, but I ask thoughtful questions and always do my best. I respect others and other ideas, even if they are different from mine. I take care of my materials, myself, and my community. I do my best, even when it's hard. I am not just an artist. I am art. Art is within me, and I am safe to be myself and express my feelings, ideas, and thoughts through art.
Listen, it sounds to me like art is just the medium
Exactly.
for just self-care all together.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can come and express yourself. You can talk through issues. I think it's a wonderful thing. I think that's why art integration is so important to have in our
Absolutely.
schools.
Yes.
I think music is a
Yes.
part of arts. It should be in our schools. And I think what you're doing here is wonderful. So let's
Thank
talk
you.
to us about the cost.
Yeah.
What does it cost to attend Camp Art?
All right. So Camp Art, this is what everybody wants to know, right? How much it costs.
Yeah.
All right. So Camp Art, we have 2 sessions. Each session, the total price that you're paying is $650 flat. All right. That includes registration and tuition. It includes field trips, any types of materials that the children are going to need throughout the time that they share with us. And it's only $650. It's not $650 a week. All right. We know camps that are like literally $350 a week and something, two something a week, right? This is literally just $650. And today, for registration, normally being $100, we're going to say, hey, we're going to take $20 off registration today if you sign up. If you're listening to WBOK right now, use the coupon code WBOK in caps. You'll get $20 off. So registration is $80, right?
Shout out to the WBOK
Yes.
coupon. So if you register, so where can they go to register?
To register, you're going to go to beyondthestagellc.com/campart. All right. That's beyondthestagellc.com/campart. And you'll fill out the registration form. Once you've filled out that form, it'll take you directly to the payment page where the registration fee you'll see is $100. Make sure you put in that nice coupon code, $20 off. All right. And you can make a payment today. And look, this will be valid until, what is today? April 11th. Let's say it'll be valid until April 20th. Okay. April 20th. You can use that coupon code, $20 off.
WBOK is the coupon
WBOK.
code. Thank you for being here. In the last 30 seconds, what do you want to leave our listening audience with? Because we want to thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank
you
you.
for what you do in terms of creating a safe environment for
Yeah.
children to express themselves and to learn about themselves, to learn about their environment, to learn about their community.
Yeah.
And you're learning as well.
Yes.
We're all learning. But in the last 30 seconds, tell us why Camp Art.
You know, I could say so many things myself in terms of like what God has put in my heart to create for our community and why. But I will say the reviews that I have received speaks for themselves, right? We have a 100% review rate of what I tell somebody else about this camp is yes. All right. We have a retention rate of about 50%. Most of our students come back every year. Most of the time, if they're not coming back, it's because they may want to explore another camp or they're going out of town or, right, they've just gotten too old. I have a student that's like, oh, I'm 13 this year. I can't come. Can I please come back? I'm like, oh.
That's the best kind of review.
Yes.
Well, Joelle,
So-
thank you. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for what you're doing on behalf of children. And shout out to Camp
Thank you.
Art. But once again, give that website so folk can know where to register.
Absolutely. beyondthestagellc.com/campart. And if you forget that, just go on Instagram, Beyond the Stage, look it up, and then you'll find the link there in our bio.
And don't forget to use the coupon code WBOK for $20 off the registration fee. Shout out to Miss Joelle C. Dyson from Beyond the Stage. Shout out to Camp Art, y'all. Go sign up. We have to go to break to hear from our sponsors, but when we come back, I'm going to close the show as only I know how to do. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Another really nice day is in store. Sunshine continues with highs in the mid-70s to low 80s with a nice breeze. We stay clear today and tonight, lows in the 40s and the 50s. Cooler Saturday with highs in the low to mid-70s, but it will be sunshine for all the activities. Warming up Sunday with highs in the upper 70s to low 80s. More dry weather next week. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Welcome to Chemical of the Month by the community scientists at Rise St. James. This month, we spotlight phthalates, chemicals added to plastics, especially PVC, to make them more flexible and durable. But there's more. Research shows phthalates may disrupt hormones, affect reproductive health, and contribute to environmental pollution impacting our communities. Join us as we explore how these additives shape our everyday lives and the world around us. For more details, visit risestjames.org. Empower your knowledge with Rise.
Welcome to Liberty Bank and Trust, where your financial journey transforms communities. Since 1972, our customized banking solutions power your dreams and fuel your community growth. Every dollar you invest with us circles back to empower more people, ensuring opportunities for generations. Join us at Liberty Bank. Together, we empower possibility. Visit libertybank.net to start banking with purpose. Liberty Bank, there's freedom here.
Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. I want to thank my previous guest once again, Miss Joelle C. Dyson, the founder of Beyond the Stage LLC. She came to talk about Camp Art. Camp Art is taking place at the Old Franklin Avenue Baptist Church, y'all. And the first session is June 9th to July 3rd. And the second session is July 7th to August 3rd. The fee for the cost of the camp is $650, but if you go and register at Beyond the Stage LLC, you get a $20 coupon if you use WBOK in the coupon button. So use WBOK in the coupon section, and you can get $20 off the $100 registration fee. It is taking place from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Those are the camp hours. They offer before care at 7:45 and after care at 4:45, taking place at the Old Franklin Avenue Baptist Church, and it's from ages 4 to 12, y'all. So shout out to Miss Joelle C. Dyson from Beyond the Stage LLC and her Camp Art program that is designed for campers ages 4 to 12, taking place at the Old Franklin Avenue Baptist Church, started on June the 9th, y'all. So sign up at Beyond the Stage LLC, or she said you can go to her social media or just Google Beyond the Stage so that you can figure out how to register. So shout out to her once again. I also want to thank our previous guests as well. State Rep. Delisha Boyd and State Rep. Matthew Willard joined us this morning. But as we close the show, we want to talk about briefly these tariffs and this idea that the president of the United States is engaging in market manipulation or insider trading. And a lot of folk are making those accusations because they believe that he's manipulating the market by talking about these tariffs, which is making the market go down. And then he's pausing the tariffs, you know, and people are assuming that he's doing so to make his wealthy friends more wealthy. And then he's once again making the market go up when he pauses the tariffs. So it's almost like you're buying low and then selling high, but you have that inside information because you have your president announcing all of these retaliatory tariffs, and folk are now believing and insinuating and accusing the White House of participating in market manipulation or insider trading. And so the article says the stock market immediately surged after Trump announced his 90-day pause. The S&P 500 rocketed more than 9% on Wednesday afternoon, though on Thursday they saw a return to extreme volatility as the Dow dropped 1,900 points and the S&P dipped 5%. Hours before he announced the pause, as stocks were still in negative territory over intensifying trade war, Trump posted the message on his social media platform, Truth Social, that seemed to be addressed to the investors. "This is a great time to buy," in all caps. The president wrote, signing off with his initials DJT, which also serves as the stock symbol for his company, Trump Media and Technology Group Corp. It was noticeable that Trump signed the post with his initials, something he does not always do. So lawmakers have made accusations of insider trading. I don't know how much further down the rabbit hole we can drop before we see what is really happening here. We're cutting all of these invaluable programs that folks so desperately need, and then we're signaling to our wealthy benefactors when to buy and sell stock. Something is wrong here, and somebody has to stop it. If not Congress, if not the judiciary, it has to be the American people. So y'all stay tuned up next for the Front Porch with Grilling and Kimba. But as far as the Good Morning Show and Dr. Ashanta White, we're going to see y'all next week. Happy Friday, y'all. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.